Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of FoolCraft with Broken Voice Asuma. I sound a little bit different than usual. Why would that be, hey? It's because unfortunately I'm ill. I've had a sore throat for a few days now, and although I can sit here and record with it, it makes my voice sound a little bit funny. So this episode is probably going to be a little bit strange, right? Although I reckon as the day goes on, it'll get a little bit better, like it has done the other days. Now, you can tell that I'm placing down some natural stuff, making the area look pretty. You may also notice that there is this new path. That's correct, that's how we're starting this episode, just doing a little bit of work over here as I spent an hour making this path. That's how long it takes to make a little stretch like that. Actually, I think I'm over-exaggerating a little bit. It's probably more like 40 minutes or something like that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting this path together, and now I'm just enjoying throwing down some leaf blocks and bringing back the wildlife into this area, as all the construction has ripped it out of here. So we're throwing in our glow flowers, which will emit light, which is going to look very cool. We should make sure there's some around all sides of this thing, actually, as it will help illuminate it. And over on this side, oh dear, that's right, some of the factory that we built down below is visible from up here. That's something that I've got to address later on. But for the beginning of this episode, you probably want to know all about those nether stars, right? How many gazillions of nether stars do we have? I'll tell you now, not a lot. I really don't want to go down the route of using the mod Woot or some sort of mod that gives you nether stars easy, simply because I've actually done those ways before in the past. And so looking for a different project makes it more interesting to me. Here's the problem. We have enough to make two. And it's been a couple of days since we finished that project. But I reckon the next thing we should try to do is to get like 10 of these running at full capacity. That would be something, right? Now the Escalium reactor over here, this is going to take a long time to fill up. I was under the impression you could farm this stuff, so I was wrong. But over here, we have 16 Escalium. It was 14 last time I checked, and that number has gone up. And the reason why is because we get these from loot bags. So I'm thinking we get netherrack from loot bags, we get Escalium. Why don't we work on increasing our loot bag production? And I'm not talking about, you know, let's double it. I'm talking about let's try and 10 times this stuff, you know. Let's go absolutely ham, creating a crazy mob farm. And with that, we'll be able to, you know, upgrade all of this system and get crazy amounts of items coming through. Speaking of crazy amounts of items, look at the amount of full bags that we've got right here. Isn't that absolutely bonkers? Well, that's because this thing's been running around the clock for a long time, right? I am not going to open these on camera, just because it'll take a while, and I'm pretty sure you've seen everything that's in these already. Well, you probably don't want to mess with me right now. I've got a lot of weapons on me. It's kind of ridiculous now that we've got a stupid amount of them. Maybe we should automate the opening of Fool's bags and put them into drawers, and then over time we'll just have loads of weapons building up. That's going to be kind of hilarious, I reckon. Right, it's time to put all of this away. We're going to do an experiment now. We're going to go to the end. I've selected the end as a dimension where we would actually have conditions to use, let's say, you know, regular vanilla spawning, and also we'll be able to take advantage of using something called cursed earth, I believe. I'm trying to remember all this stuff. I should be a little bit more prepared, really. If we use a drop of evil on dirt, it will create cursed earth, and that will spawn mobs like crazy. And I'm hoping it will spawn Enderman as well, and then we can drop them into a trap that will kill them all for their loot bags. Does that sound like a good idea? I think there's probably some more stuff I should take with me, but for now, let's just do a quick experiment in the end. Is anyone there? Hi? We're in the void. We're in the end. I've flown out into the area where there is nothing. And I remembered to bring an angel block with me. How good was that? Because now we can place blocks out here. So to do a quick experiment, I don't actually want to make a lot of stuff here. And also, I want to change my flight. This is a little bit too fast for building, but when you turn it off, you have to reset your angel ring. Otherwise, you fall into the void. So let's stand on that block. Yeah, we're all good here. And you know what would be useful? Having the builder's wand. Let's go and grab that. I keep that in my builder's chest. And then something like that will be absolutely fine. Now I'm going to take back the angel block before anything bad happens. And then we've got to use a drop of evil on this dirt. And that has happened. That's pretty cool. What happens if I put Ah, right. So we may end up needing quite a few drops of evils. It doesn't spread past the initial thing. Now, as soon as I back away, we've got Enderman spawning, which is what we can expect to see. But we should see other mobs as well. That's not really too promising. Maybe what I should do is expand the platform a little bit more, and that might make a difference. Okay, another drop of evil. You get these from wither skeletons, by the way, so they're not going to be difficult to farm. And stepping back here, again, the only thing that we're seeing is Enderman, so maybe building it in this dimension isn't going to work. See you later, guys. Off into the void they go. So I wanted to know if this stuff would work in loaded chunks, because I realised we were not going to be near the farm itself, and if it works like vanilla, it requires a player to be nearby. And as soon as I go into game mode 1, you can see that mobs start spawning. If I go back into this and set it to peaceful and then hard again, we'll see nothing else spawns. And I actually tweeted this out the other day asking for help, and some people quoted the wiki for me, which said that this would work in loaded chunks. And here's proof that it doesn't. It requires the player's location to be near the farm in order it to work. So cursed earth is actually something that unfortunately we're not going to be able to use today, but maybe we'll use it for another project in the future. It's been a funny old episode. Here I am talking about not wanting to use woot to make nether stars, and then I thought I would conduct an experiment for getting loot bags over here. And this is a full-sized farm with the full amount of upgrades, and it uses a crazy amount of power. And it is not getting these loot bags as fast as the way we've already done it has in the past. So I think what we were doing before was fine to get loot bags, and now what we need to do is that again on a much larger scale. But using a woot farm like this was an idea that passed my mind for a moment there. I'm glad I did a experiment in creative mode, because this just basically isn't fast enough. I've been flying around like the eye in the sky looking for a location to build what will be a big old project, another tower that's going to rise up possibly higher than that over there. So spacing things out is important, but also keeping it close to where the path is going to be is another thing as well. So we've got a little section of path to build from there to there, and that's going to be where we'll link it up to this farm as well. Now I've been gathering some materials, and I'm going to set this all up in a moment and show you how all of this stuff is going to work together, but this right here is going to be the location of our farm. I just had to stop then and do a wicked cough. I cannot really talk for too long at a time. But this is it right here. It's going to be 4 spawning sections that are 9 by 9. It's going to push all of the mobs into the middle, and that's where they're going to get killed. So this will rise up high into the sky, and I've just sort of picked out this location after rebuilding it in a few different areas around here, and I felt like this was what fit into the space the best. We're also going to dig the ground down a little bit, so it's going to be level with the floor over here. And now I'm just going to crack on and do all of that. And here it all is. This is essentially the base of our farm, and like I said, it's going to be very tall. And down at the bottom here we have this congealed blood channel stuff right here. This is great. This is like a single piece of water, and you can choose what direction you want it to flow in. And this is going to be used to reduce fall damage, or to actually eliminate it completely, because the slimes in this farm are going to be falling down from up above, and then we don't want them taking damage when they land, because the small ones will get killed. So I think it's this block here and that block there that we want to replace with fans. Now these are going to have lots of upgrades in. I could have swore I just put the fans into my inventory. Oh, they're on my hotbar. Why couldn't I see that? Maybe it was because I was looking in this space up here. So yeah, this is then going to push the slimes across. So they're going to fall down and they're going to get pushed across real fast. In fact, they don't actually push the slimes when they're in the congealed channel, but they push them when they're above, so they're still useful. They get the slimes going over here, which is closer to where they're going to die, right? So in a mob farm, what you want to do is kill the thing as quick as possible to be efficient. Although because this is modded, technically in a way you don't, because it will keep spawning. Now, next thing I'm going to tell you is that I may have made a big old oversight. And first of all, I believe that's actually the very centre of the farm. I'll double check that later. But the oversight is how many slimes we can have in an area at once. So I've gone and made a load of powered spawners, 8 in total. And this is just to cover one segment of the farm, right? So if I have that right there, and it drops slimes down below, my thinking was that down here the slimes are going to be out of range of the spawner and it's not going to detect them. So we're not going to get the error where it says there are too many slimes, but it might work differently and it might work by area. So this could end up backfiring a little bit. Now what I want to do is have everything in a single column like this. The reason why is because we don't want the slimes hitting anything on the way down. And I was hoping that we'd be able to put some conduit facades around here, and then we'd be able to transfer power using energy conduits. But they don't actually extract from these blocks, even though they hold power. It's only from capacitor banks that they will do that. So I can't think of a way to pass the power through, which means that we are going to double up the spawners, so they're going to be in pairs, and then they're going to have a dimensional transceiver between the two of them. Like that. That will power the one above and the one below. We'll put capacitors in them, and then there'll be spawning slimes which will fall all the way down, hopefully out of the range of the spawner, so it'll continue doing that, and then they'll get whooshed into this middle area, which is going to be like the killing floor, right? So that's the general gist of the idea. In between each of the areas where we're going to have those powered spawners, I thought I might put in some fancy blocks like this. Doesn't actually really look like it's going to add too much to the build. Now when it comes to the outside of the build, we're going to have windows, but we're going to let like the terrain sit around here. So over on this side, this is going to be nothing but solid marble blocks going up, and then the windows will start in the areas where you can actually look into the build. So that's kind of like my theory on how to do the design. It means that there's going to be flat walls going all the way down, so there's nothing for the slimes to get caught on. And again, they land at the bottom, they get sent over to this killing area, which we will get to a little bit later. For now, what I want to do is just get one side of this working and then see what happens. There has been a lot of crafting involved in today's activities. I just crafted a bunch of these over here, and it got me thinking about how we could upgrade them to the next level. But I'd like the whole of this farm to be self-sufficient, and I don't think that this right here is probably going to even be enough for all of these spawners. And you'll notice that I've gone back on my ideas a little bit, and that's because I realised that we need to run a redstone conduit down here just to turn this thing on and off, because if ever it causes a problem, which it might do, you don't want to be coming in here and doing all of these manually. But that's what I've actually got to do next. I've got to come in here and manually set these up. So that one there, oh, do you know what I can do? I can actually just put the capacitor in by right clicking like that. But the one at the bottom isn't getting any power yet. It's just also turned to nighttime, which doesn't help. Maybe the one at the top here. Did I place these at night? You know, I've always got the old night vision cap on, and I don't really notice sometimes if it's day or not. Let's go and sleep. And I believe it's actually working, and the first slime that's been spawned has escaped, which is not what I wanted it to do. It looks like a couple of them have fallen down here. And I was hoping I could test this without putting glass in the side of the building. So I guess the next thing we've got to do is make a whole bunch of glass over here as well. And I'm going to set these up so they'll only work with a redstone signal. Now that's what I like to see. That's an interesting looking border. This is reverse ethereal glass, which means I can shift to go through, which is kind of a little bit of a pain coming in from the side here. But I really like the look of it. Now this one we're probably not going to go with because there's a bit too much going on. That one you can go straight through, and this one is ineffable glass. So ethereal and ineffable are pretty much the same thing, and I'm aware that I just said that wrong. Do you know what, I've been ill, I explained it earlier, and saying words and stuff is difficult for X today, just like every other day, but you'll hear more of it than usual. We're going to put lava down there just to kill the slimes temporarily, right? That's an important thing while we're building the farm. And I've also got some receivers and transmitters over here, so we should be able to link these together, and I can't quite remember how you do it. If I put the transmitter on the ground, I think we right click on it, yeah, and all of those are set to channel 18, so that's giving it a redstone signal. If we head up the top here and we just break the top block, I'm not sure exactly how this stuff's going to be arranged, but that is now giving the redstone signal to this, which means all of them should be active. Maybe I need to configure this for a strong signal. I see the problem. Do you see the problem, peeps? It's on the wrong side. And there we go. So now we can activate this thing remotely, which is really cool. And it's producing quite a lot of slimes, and I am not seeing that error that we talked about, which is very, very promising. It actually looks like this farm is going to be pretty epic. There you go. Too many mobs. Now, is that because we have one, well, we did have one stuck on the side there, or just in the general area? either way, we are definitely seeing a ridiculous amount more than the other farm that we built. Let's go and turn it off now, and let's just wander back over here. Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of slimes down there. They're all suffering a terrible, horrible death. So I'm just putting in the last of the glass now. I've just been crafting for like half an hour straight. It is crazy the amount of resources we have, but that's FoolCraft, you know, everything is on the next level, and so when you spend ages crafting a load of stuff, you know it's going to be for something good. So check out all of this, mainly a pain in the butt because I had to make loads and loads of swords for those, then I had to make loads and loads of swords for the other ones, and now it's rearranged my inventory, which is pleasant. I'd split it all up like that so I could make sure I had the right amount. We're going to have 12 killing things down here, and then we're going to surround it with congealed slime blocks so that they all get pushed in to the mob mashers, which are basically going to be active from the point of me placing them down, and you can see the fans can hit me as well. So I've got to be careful in this area, and we've also got to install the upgrades as well, so they're all going to have max sharpness, max looting, and 1 fire, so we get fire damage in there as well. We set them on fire basically, and then down below we're going to have a whole bunch of these things, these absorption hoppers. I haven't even thought about how we're going to like get to this area here yet, but basically underneath each killing thing we're going to have a hopper, so the like area that it's going to collect from is going to overlap. We're probably going to increase the size of it as well, and the idea there is bandwidth. We're going to be moving a serious amount of items to the system below, so it needs to have a high bandwidth for collecting items. I'll tell you what, this view right here is pretty good. What if we made a little viewing station where you could pop your head up into this bit and there were like chisel and bits around so you could look in all directions? That way you could interact with each of these and change them if you needed to and see what's going on. Doing a little experiment over here. We can connect this thing to an item conduit like that, so we can create a conduit network that will connect all of them together. They will extract and send to a single point, which is going to be this drawer bank right here. And what we're probably going to do is have some temporary storage down here, because I'm actually really running out of time, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get the farm into a state where I can leave it running overnight, which is what I would really like to do, so then we can come back to some more loot bags next time we log in. How many more drawers we got? Yeah, 1, 2 over there. So that'll be able to store a whole bunch of stuff. I've got void upgrades and these ones as well, just so we can, you know, make sure it doesn't back up, basically. Then up the top here, you'll see that we've got our little looking station, and the congealed blood slime is in place. What I did is I created a little U like that, pointing into this one, and then the next U shape points into that one, and we basically go around like in a circle like this, and that causes all of them to point into something with a neat and equal pattern, which is very important, peeps. Everything must be neat and equal. I believe technically we could start running this thing, but before we do that, let's hook up all of the item conduits and get this storage system in place. So we can turn the whole thing on from down here now. It's all been set up. The upgrades have been put in, and do you know what? We could have a little look from our peek hole here. Stuff's getting wrecked straight away. It's probably making a hideous amount of noise. And there we go, straight away the loot bags are rolling in. Oh wow, that is so very, very cool, right? And they're the only items to come through so far. So let's stick our head up above and let's see how crazy this is. Right, so some of them are flying out all over the place. I believe they're spawning inside of the glass, and that allows them to jump out. That's really unfortunate, actually. Yikes. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure how we'd deal with that, really. Now, did it all just stop spawning? Have we run out of power? Are we producing so little that they've just exhausted every little bit that they've got? Yeah, it kind of looks like that, right? So a power source is required. Well, it looks like today might not be the day that we get this thing running around the clock, but it's a pretty good start. The concept is there, right? And yeah, we've got quite a lot of loot bags coming in. Half a stack of common, and that's not so bad. So these solar panels alone, which are not the top tier ones, seem to keep this farm running fairly frequently. So this thing being self-sufficient will be a possibility. Now when it comes to them spawning in the walls, basically I think their range is where the wall is. If we put that like so, you can see that it comes out to here. If I break the glass, it's actually the block the other side of the glass, isn't it? So technically I've done this correctly, but the large slimes and the medium-sized ones will spawn over here at the edge and be inside the block, and then they will bounce their way out of it, which is not what we want, which probably means we're going to have to come down here and expand the size of the farm by either 1 or 2 blocks, and I'll probably do it by 2 to be safe. So the structure is going to get even bigger, and it basically requires a bit of a rebuild. I'm going to see if I can do that now, and then we can leave the farm running. Peeps, I wanted to leave this running in between episodes, but I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I need to take a break. I'm ill, I've had a sore throat, I'm under the weather, I've got other things to need to do. And for all of my planning and preparation, I managed to overlook something. That's always the case in Minecraft. You always got to rebuild because you overlook one thing. And yeah, it's an annoying thing because it means we've got to redesign some of the bottom stuff down here as well. But hopefully it won't be too much of a bother, and next episode we'll get that up and running. So that is going to be it for me this episode of FoolCraft. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. As always, thank you for the support, and I'll see you in the next one. So ciao for now. Bye bye.